Just like the rest of you, I love it when Friday the 13th rolls around on the calendar. For this episode, we're watching Friday the 13th Part 3. I'm Kevin Porter, and welcome to Video Rental Chaos. You see, there's nothing better than going out to the mountains as a kid to spend time getting drunk with all of your friends. Well, nothing better till Jason Voorhees shows up and ruins all of your fun. Friday the 13th Part 3 was a smash hit at the box office. For the year 1982, it came in right behind Poltergeist, that being the top grossing horror film for that year. So grab your hockey mask and let's jump right on into this movie. We get a quick recap of the ending from Friday the 13th Part 2. We see that Jason, in fact, lived through the ending of the last film, and it picks right back up where he left off. Jason travels to a local grocery mart down the way, so we're introduced to his first victims of this film. Harold and his wife Edna. Both Edna and Harold are taken down by Jason as he makes short work of them in the opening scene. Soon after, we meet Chris Higgins and her friends Rick and Debbie. Now, they're on their way to pick up their other friend Vera. And we find out that these three are not alone, as everyone's favorite prankster Shelly is shown on screen stalking the kids. After picking up Vera, they think that the van is on fire, and we find out that Chuck and Chili are just busy making Cheech and Chong proud with their huge bomb hits. While on the road, the kids have a huge scare and almost get rid of the entire stash as they think they're being pulled over. Well, it turns out that the 5-0 wasn't after them, but on their way to a fresh murder scene at the lakefront grocery store. It wouldn't be a Friday the 13th film without a scene warning the kids to turn back, or they're all doomed. They arrive at Higgins Haven, that is located on Camp Crystal Lake. Here, they meet up with Chris's on and off boyfriend Rick. We soon see that Jason is hiding out in the adjacent barn on the property. We get a pretty good scare in with Shelly, proving that he is the ultimate opportunist. He's able to scare Chris and in the process piss off the entire group. Vera decides that she needs to get some air and takes Rick's car to the grocery store. Knowing the entire house is mad at him, Shelly decides to tag along. Unfortunately for those two, they run into a biker gang consisting of Ali, Fox, and Loco. After getting into a brief altercation with the gang, Vera and Shelly try to get away. Shelly, proving that he's never taken the time to learn how to drive a car, drives in reverse and knocks over the bikers' motorcycles. We see that Ali is swearing revenge on these two kids as they get away. Back at Higgins Haven, Rick is not too happy with the way his car was returned to him. As Rick and Debbie sneak away to the lake, the biker gang shows back up and get a measure of revenge. They siphon the gas from the van and intend to burn down the barn. One by one, each of them end up facing off with Jason Voorhees. We see that Loco and Fox are killed, and we are left to believe that Ali is left for dead as well. We end up finding out why Chris is so in her head as she reveals a previous encounter with Jason Voorhees. Once the juggling contest is over, Rick and Debbie head upstairs. Chuck and Chili are stoned as fuck, and we are left with Shelly and Vera all alone. Vera again is trying to get away from this goofy kid. Instead of just giving her some space, Shelly decides it's a good idea to put on a wetsuit and a hockey mask, plus he had a spear gun in tow as he scares the shit out of Vera. Shelly, you can tell, feels like garbage at this point as he walks towards the barn, and you feel that Vera is finally having a change of heart towards Shelly. She drops the wallet in the water and is able to fetch it though. She sees someone she thinks that is Shelly as we see Jason Voorhees don the hockey mask for the very first time. She then is shot in the eye with a harpoon, and probably one of the better kills in the movie. Jason is in the house at this point of the film, and we see that Debbie and Rick are finally done having sex for the 5th time in this film. She hops into the shower as Rick tries to hand walk down to the kitchen to get some beers. Well, he was met with a machete as Jason practically splits the dude in half. Soon after, Debbie and her unborn child are done in for good as well. Chuck is woken up and ends up going out to the bathroom, but he ends up getting scared by Chili. He ends up going down to the basement once the power goes out, and there, he runs into Jason as we see Chuck get shoved into the electrical box and spikes the power. At this point, we learn the fate of Shelly as he tries to get Chili's help, but it's one time too late for this little boy that cried wolf. She soon realizes that everyone in the house is dead, and Jason finally tracks her down and kills her with the hot fire hose. You're down to Chris and Rick as the two of them ended up having to walk all the way back to Higgins Haven as Rick's car had died. Once they are back, they are quick to find out that something has gone horribly wrong while they were gone. Rick is soon grabbed by Jason and is killed when he crushes his head, causing one of his eye sockets to explode. Now, it's down to Chris and Jason as the director Stephen Miner drags out the third chapter as long as he can. She finally ends up in the barn, where Chris is able to get Jason's head into the noose and hangs him for dead. When you thought it was all over, Jason is back and temporarily removes his mask just to get away from the noose. So Chris then realizes at that moment that this is the same guy from 2 years ago that had attacked her in the middle of the night in the woods. We're to find out that Ollie was not dead after all, but is then killed by Jason immediately. Chris is then able to take an axe to Jason's head, and we think that Jason is finally dead for good. In the final moments of the movie, Chris is shown getting into a canoe and finally passing out after a night full of murder. She wakes up the next morning thinking that Jason is still alive and is in the house. In mid-panic, she is then grabbed by the dead body of Pamela Voorhees. The police are finally on scene and we're led to believe that Chris is crazy after all this. We see her being taken away by the police as Jason's body is left for dead. Or is he? Friday the 13th Part 3 I used to think was my favorite of the series. Prepping for this episode though, I don't think that's the case anymore. While we all love the classic instrumental that plays throughout this film, I can't help but hate all of the characters in this movie. And I'm celebrating when each one of them meets their demise. Plus, what is up with the character of Debbie saying that she was pregnant at the beginning of the film, but then in the shower scene wants a beer from Rick? I know she changes her mind, but damn, what the hell is that? While I've never had the opportunity to watch this film in true 3D, the effects do seem to be a lot of fun, and it feels that they went out of their way to make sure that you're getting more bang for your buck with what you see. Like I said, it's really hard to gain sympathy for any of these characters. The dialogue is pretty weak in my opinion, but with that all being said, I still like this film. It's the first time we really get to see the classic Jason within the series. Before he was just a boy in the lake, then he was the walking mountain man. Here we get to see Jason in the hockey mask and the classic green shirt. I do gotta say, the kills are a lot of fun, especially with them playing with the 3D effects. I'll be light on this one to end this video as I don't think this one gets enough love compared to the rest of the series. All in all, I like Friday the 13th Part 3. It's a fun movie. If you got a chance to check it out just on a random Saturday, you might as well because again, you get to see Jason for the very first time with a hockey mask. And what beats that? Let me know what you think about Friday the 13th Part 3 in the comment section. I'm sure it will be very divided. Until next time, I'll see you at the video store.
Thank you.